We are ready to go, sir.
Good morning, everybody. We are at the CDYCI meeting Wednesday, January 17th, 2024. This meeting will be streamed live on our CDYCI's YouTube channel. Item 1, roll call. Samantha Miller.
She's on her way.
She's on her way.
On her way, okay. William Connors. Here. Laura Bauer.
Here.
Mark is here. Let's see. Connors. Kristen.
Yeah.
Laura's here. Mike Stammel.
Here.
Susan Askians is not here, right?
Not yet, no.
Not yet. But is on her way or,
She RSVP'd, right?
Yeah,
Susan?
oh, she did. She was coming.
okay. Craig is here. Gary Hughes,
He's the only one. who
is
did.
he remote?
He did not reply to our.
Did not reply. Samantha Miller, she's. Okay. And our guest is today,
Bailey Mack.
Billy Mack. And Lucas, thank you. Okay,
And on the, on the line, we have Catherine Crummy from Harris Beach and Moira Manning from Albany County.
thank you very much.
Yes. She was coming.
Item 2, approval of the December 13th, 2023 meeting minutes that are enclosed.
I have no questions. I'll make a move to.
Have a move. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any questions? Hearing none? Yeas?
Okay.
Nays? It passes. Okay, number 3, financial statement through December 31st, 2023, memo 2401.
So we, paid to Berkshire all disbursements due from Q1 and Q2 of 2023. The bills are still out for Q3, correct?
Mhm.
And we're still waiting for final costs from Berkshire to submit for Q4 per diem rates. Expenses, Berkshire's expenses through November are just over 3.6 million for secure detention with total expenses at 4.1. Specialized secure, Berkshire's expenses almost 5.7. And total expenses $6.4 million.
Thank you, Mark. Do I hear? Do I hear first?
I'll make the move.
Thank you, Laura. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kristen. Is there any questions on financial statements? Hearing none? Is there any in the nays? Hearing none, it passes. Okay, item 4, educational program update, Mark.
Yeah, we continue to progress with the transition in the educational program. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago, last week with the assistant superintendent of BOCES to talk about specifics of setting up the program, the program's needs and short-term needs versus long-term needs. So, you know, while we don't have anything signed yet, there are draft agreements moving around. So it does look positive that BOCES would be able to take on the education program and provide better, I think, services that anticipate the needs of the population that we have in the facility currently. So that's good news. So hopefully more to come at our April meeting. Like I said, we have draft contracts circulating, so our attorneys are taking a look at it to make sure that the scope of whatever agreement matches the needs, that the raise the age regulations require. And Berkshire will take a look at it as well, just to make sure that the appropriate language is in there about Berkshire staff versus the, school district staff. Oh, it's a ghost.
That's why
I
I
haven't
was.
seen that in a while. So yeah, all good. Really pleased that it was not as big of a challenge as we initially assumed it may be when we first heard the news from South Colony.
Glad to hear that, Mark, and I made all your following of that, and that agreement should be happening, and the transition is when?
So South Colony is working with all the parties on the transition, and they're essentially gonna be out of the game at the end of this school year.
The end of the school year, and the other takes effect.
Well, we hope that
In
they'll be able
September.
to stand up a program that will provide some services in the summertime, but the worst case scenario would be September 1 or whenever
Okay,
the school district starts their calendar year.
I appreciate that, Mark. Okay. Item number 5. Presentation understanding the incidents at the Berkshire operations. Chief Compliance Officer.
Yeah, let me just bring up the presentation, then I have to share screen. Hang on.
Mark, is this something that I can get to like pull stuff out of for the
Uh-huh.
minutes? Thank you.
There we go. You don't see the mouse?
That's the cleaning.
Oh, geez.
Jumping out.
Stop share, wrong presentation, folks. Give us a second.
There we go.
Walmart's pulling that up. Thank you for allowing me to join the board meeting today. For those that do not remember me from last year or that I haven't met before, my name is Bailey Mack. I'm the Chief Compliance Officer for Berkshire
Yes,
Farm
okay.
Center and Services for Youth. I have been with the agency for 6 years, thanks kindly. Me and my team work closely with programming to help identify and manage risk with a focus on quality improvement. Part of that is tracking and assisting with the management of incidences. Here we have some classifications as to what is identified as reportable incidences according to the Justice Center as well as JDOS. These are behavioral related such as fighting, contraband, AWOL attacks, serious medical illnesses, self-harm, and the use of physical restraints. Please keep in mind this wide variety as to what can classify as an incident while we're looking at some of the information and some of the data. I understand this is a busy slide and I'm sorry for that. This is the best way to present this information here. This is a year over year comparison of the data that was presented last year. And then at the timeframe of this information for this next year. So the first table is data collected last year at the detention facilities. And across New York State and their associated incident and restraint data. The second table is the data for this year under review. And the third table shows the year over year changes. Berkshire information is highlighted purple. And while I do want you to note the increase that Berkshire has had, you can see that across New York State, incidences increased overall for the year in review. Despite Berkshire's increase in incidences and restraints, the agency remains below its bed capacity average. What I mean is that Berkshire has 9% of the state's beds across all of New York State. Yet, as you can see from the data, we make up only 6% of the incidences and 8% of the restraints. This is an increase from last year, but this next slide is going to go into a little bit of the why associated with that. So on average, if a youth is going to be involved in an incident while they're at detention, they will be in, well, detention at Berkshire Farm. They will be in approximately less than 2% or 2 incidences during their stay. From the data, 9 youth were involved in an average of 13.5 incidences. So 6% of the youth in our program made up 53% of the overall incidences. Breaking that down even further, 2 of those 9 youth participated in 55 of the 231 incidences. So less than 2% of our residents were involved in 24% of the overall incidences of the program. So obviously, this affects the environment and the workers.
It's pretty telling right there. Yeah,
Yes.
very telling.
Workers' comp injuries were reviewed as a part of the Health and Safety Committee, and within the fall, Secure had seen an increase related to youth management-related claims. Over half of these claims relate directly and indirectly to our youth up on the screen there. So to give some context, in 2022, we only had 12 worker comp claims related to youth management. So again, it is a facility, injuries happen, right? But in 2023, we had 56 worker comp claims associated because of the environment change with this.
And the majority were those 2 youth.
Correct. So despite this, though, the program running at secure detention sets an example to be followed. Again, 9% of the bed capacity, but only 6% of the instances, despite what we had happen with 2 very challenging residents this past year. Last year, we were able to show a 12 and a 4. As I stated, the state overall increased as well with 18, and Berkshire, because of the residents, we had that an increase to 11 in the facility incident rate. Same thing when it comes to restraints. Berkshire in the prior year had a very low incident or restraint rate per bed capacity. We were very happy we were able to get down to that low. It was through a lot of hard work of our staff and successfully managing the environment of the residents. But when you have residents that come in that are escalated or need different care, it increased the restraint incidences, which can result in injuries that also occur. So this is why we implement a number of different changes into the program. And then here is the unique youth rate. So last year, we were at 4 for the unique youth rate, again, per bed capacity versus 8 this year. So I'm gonna hand it over to Luke to talk about some of the changes that were implemented through
So
programming.
some of the things we're doing, we know that we're gonna have more difficult youth coming into the facility. So some of the things that we've done, we started our offsite training center in June, where our staff, all new staff go there for at least 3 weeks to get trained, to learn techniques, to be prepared to go into the facility. I will say that we had an OCFS review of our training folders, and we are the only facility in the state that is 100% trained. Every one of our staff has every one of their trainings completed and up to date. So we know that down the road, as we have better trained staff, we're going to be able to handle these youth much better. So that's been in operation since June, and it's been very effective with our staff. It's also cut down on our turnover compared to the people leaving. It's gone down. We've also brought on some new leadership. So we have a senior director. His name is Glenn Holt. He comes from Arkansas. He was the deputy director of human services there. So he is overseeing all the detention facilities that Berkshire oversees. But recently, and we'll announce this in a little bit, but we have a new director who's going to be starting, who's been at the facility since it opened. And he will be starting on the 25th next week. His name is Ray Wilcox, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. But to have this leadership positions in place are going to really help us moving forward. I love leading the facility, but I think having a director there right now can really concentrate solely on the facility is going to be important. Last year, in the 2022 when we approved the budget, we had administrators on duty. We had 12 of those positions. We've been hiring them throughout the year. We are full now with our administrators on duty, which gives us this new front line of leadership there that can help support our staff. And we've definitely seen the benefit. Despite having the increase in incidents, we're responding much better. OCFS has been doing a review of our incidents, checking our video, and you can see from the way we manage a crisis that our staff are where they need to be and making sure that we are getting the kids back to baseline, getting them back to program as quickly as possible and taking care of them the best way we can in an incident. Now construction has been a huge impact on our area. If you go to the facility now, you'll see about half of the square footage available to our kids that was before. We don't have an outside rec yard. One of our activity rooms is off. There's temporary walls all over the place. It makes it feel very fine. So this has definitely contributed to a lot of our kids feeling very close together, and which has bred a lot of fights and things that have gone on. But our staff are doing a great job of managing the environment. And in the past month, our incidents are at the lowest that they've been in over a year. So we're really seeing how we can work within that environment, and it's only going to get better as we open new spaces. So we're very excited, but our staff are learning how to work in that very small environment. And we've also really enhanced our safety protocols. Our contraband searches have dramatically increased the way we're checking kids and visitors and everybody coming in to make sure that we see contraband and get it before it becomes an issue. And we have a whole bunch of new things. We've instituted a higher number of searches in the facility to make sure that we are checking our kids after visits to make sure that they don't bring anything back to their rooms. We have things like, we have a cell phone detector now in our facility, so we can walk in the back and make sure nobody has a cell phone in the back, and we do that every shift. So we have a lot of new security things implemented. We do with our physician has worked together, so now we can do drug testing of kids, and we do random tests, and if we have any suspect of any issues, we do full tests of the whole facility. So that's been very popular. And last, behavior management. Some things we've been working on, some things that people are counterintuitive to the way we work, but we went from the correctional model to the therapeutic model. One holdover from that correctional model was room confinement, keeping kids in their room longer. You know, everybody thought that kept it safer, but now we've moved to very short periods of room confinement, putting kids in briefly if they are having behavioral issues and then bringing them right back out. And as we're seeing, incidents are going down, kids are coming back, they're feeling better. It's much more therapeutic to bring them out quicker. So a lot of staff were very concerned when we did that, but they're seeing the numbers that it's going down and bringing kids out sooner. So we're doing some new behavioral management techniques, and we're looking at even some additional behavioral management techniques and systems that we use to continue to move forward.
Super. And positive information there.
Yeah, it helps to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
But we know that these two youth who cost 24% of the income, we are going to get more of those youth. And so moving forward with the increased clinical presence that we're going to have and the increased staffing and some of these other techniques, we're going to be better prepared to work.
Where's the staff training center?
It is right on 155, right on New Carter Road. We have an office, Berkshire has an office there, and it's in the building right adjacent to it.
And does the training our staff go?
Yes, I have an administrator and an administrator on duty that are assigned to that. So we're taking care of all staff and any staff that need to get trained in the facility, because we do trainings throughout the year, they're able to come to that facility. One of the big advantages is when we get training in the facility, and there's a all call where all staff have to go to something or something's going on, trainings are being disrupted and nobody can concentrate. Now they're off site, they can concentrate on the training.
Thank you.
Super.
I applaud Luke and the team for an excellent job in difficult circumstances, not only this past year, but the past 4 years or so. But the statistic that really, we all should take away is that a very small number of problematic youth can really disrupt the facility and cost the facility, I guess, a lot of resources, be a significant drain on resources in terms of human resources, having to, double coverage, one-to-one observation. And it points to the macro issue in my mind is that there are still no adequate inpatient mental health services for youth in the state. And you know, it's a challenge for, or I guess it's really up to our elected officials to prioritize some, I think, adequate services so that juvenile detention is not used as a backstop for all problematic youth who really should be in a inpatient mental health facility. But because mental health services are provided at the facility, it's an ancillary service, it's not a core mission of the facility. And there really should be a medical facility to handle some of these youth.
Can I ask a question? In terms of the 9 youth who participated in 55 of the 230 incidents, for those youth that were there, quote unquote, long term,
Some of those-
serving out sentences? Or no?
They were sentences, they were waiting. Oh, some of them had been sentenced to because we're sentenced awaiting, attorney to go off to, obviously, yes. But, some of them were just waiting for disposition.
Okay. I don't know if this is helpful in any way, but in terms of, while because they're pending in court, getting, maybe more detailed reports is sometimes helpful on the county side.
Sure.
Because if kids are acting out and we have a detailed report, we can work with the judges to say like, look, this may change their disposition. You know, that child might be looking at a different outcome as a result of these. You know, sometimes it's too late, but
It can be.
some of the kids I know on my cases, I've had a couple who they just said there were 2 incidents. And I'm like, well, I don't know what that means.
It's so
when I go into
work,
court.
and I think with we just have our new commission, she just came on in December, so having her there to be part of that team, I think we're gonna see more detailed reports.
Yeah. I was pretty sure it was a staffing issue for a long time during COVID, right?
Yes.
So, but pre-COVID, I think we got a little more detail on what was happening. This was an incident, this person, you know, the child who's in court was the aggressor in this incident, not in this incident, you know, just having that information, I found to be very helpful in terms of what direction a case goes in.
Yes, and I think the hard thing with our mental health youth is, you know, before disposition, our youth without mental health issues will be very well behaved, but our youth with mental health issues will be very nervous. And they will exacerbate their issues and their incidents can reach dramatically in a period where you expect them to be very low.
Do, PDIs or PSIs ever include that information?
They can.
They could, yes. I mean, I know our non-security detention writes some very detailed reports that have been included in these.
Yeah.
What is a PSI?
Yeah.
Pre-sentence investigation, that'd be for someone who is older, but predispositional investigation, probation prepares both of those. And I know they probably contact the facility for reports anyway.
Yeah, in terms of when you, before, what for adults would be a sentencing, for a child with a disposition. Before that, a report's prepared by the probation department, making a recommendation about what the outcome of the case should be for that youth. And if, you know, they're having trouble maintaining in a secure detention facility, that's something the court should really know in terms of how they decide to proceed with the case.
And remember, yeah, the incidences could be maintaining because of self-harm. It can be other behavioral things. It does not mean that it's always fighting or bullying or acting out, though that's obviously what happened in the past instance with the harm that was going on. Not all the time is it related specifically to an aggressive response.
Yeah, so when you have over 24 hospital visits, like 4 months, so those would all be instances.
Right. AWOL attempts, things like that.
We
they'll
don't have
all-
AWOL.
Right, we don't have AWOL. But, you know, we definitely have them in terms of non-secure detention.
We do.
We see them where they try to
They try to abscond.
walk away from, Columbia County.
We love bears there, so we keep.
Is there any other questions for Luke?
Thank you.
No? Thank you. Hearing none. We want to go on to item 6. Transition workshop memo 2402.
So one of the things we are planning ahead for is opening up the new dorm. In order to open up the new dorm, some of the new spaces, they need to be certified by the regulating agencies. That certification process looks at the physical structure for compliance with the regulations, but also looks to make sure that the facility has an adequate operational plan to run the specific areas in the facility. So SCOC has requested or scheduled a coordination meeting with Berkshire and Luke's team over 2 days. I mean, I think that's a bit much, but whatever.
It was a 4-day. We got it down.
Okay, they have a standard process, and I will say, while this is focusing on, operational things, and you can see the agenda, in your packet. Luke and his team have been working throughout the entire construction process, modifying, updating policies and procedures as needed, and anticipating and planning for opening up the new spaces in the facility. I think, the main takeaway from this workshop will be that the regulating agencies and Berkshire Farm will be copacetic and on the same page in terms of their comfort with what's going to happen to open up the new dorm. And opening up the new dorm is really a milestone that allows us to transition into the next phase of construction, which is some of the more aggressive interior renovations. So hopefully the census of the facility won't change. It'll still hover around 22 to 24 beds, because we'll be taking dorm A offline. So that's the plan of action, for this meeting. We are still anticipating opening up the new visitation area after we'll talk about the capital project during that time. Any questions about this transition, 2-day transition workshop? Who's paying for the food? Oh, look at that. Nothing like, that's my kind of state meeting. State calls a meeting and we pay for the food.
Right.
Is there any other questions? Hearing none. I'm going to item number 7.
Yes, so,
COVID-19.
so this is really a cleaning and health audit. Now, Luke can correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like the New York State Sheriff's Association got a grant and then hired a firm to conduct these COVID audits of facilities. So they came in and did an audit of our facilities, policies and procedures, tools, operations related to cleanliness in the facility. This was, I think our facility was the best case of the facilities that were reviewed. I included the quote in my memo, which was in the cover letter of this organization that did the audit, and it said, "I'm writing this letter to express my heartfelt congratulations to your team for their efforts in designing and implementing policies to mitigate the risk and spread of COVID-19. Your commitment to safety and well-being of the staff and residents at your facility is truly commendable." And I think that was the only sort of effusive praise that resulted from a facility inspection in the state. So congratulations, Luke, and to the team. There are obviously areas that can be improved. And Luke is exploring the recommendations of this report and figuring out how to most effectively work them into their workflow for cleaning and maintenance in the facility. But you've recently brought on new maintenance staff.
The staff we just started. Very background check process. Our maintenance staff is doing fantastic. Also with this, there is a large training going on in March, which will have staff attending. Our maintenance and janitorial staff will be attending to help train us on some new techniques. And there will hopefully be a petition coming from this to be able to get some new equipment. That won't be that won't cost CDYCI anything. There's new equipment in the facility for cleaning.
Is there any other questions? Hearing none. Item 8, new facility director and leadership structure, memo 2404.
Yeah, well, Luke already mentioned Mr. Wilcox has been hired by Berkshire as the new facility director, and Glenn Holt is going to be the senior director of detention services. Mr. Holt brings many years of experience working at high levels in juvenile justice administration or juvenile detention administration in Louisiana and in Arkansas. And Mr. Wilcox is sort of the institutional connection between Gene Terry to today, since he's been at the facility since it opened. The staff, I think, have a high degree of confidence in Mr. Wilcox's leadership and a high level of trust in his acumen for the role. So I think it's a good decision by Berkshire to bring him on as the facility director. And knowing that it's not just one person, looking at all these issues, the variety of issues it takes to run a facility. I think it puts the facility in a really good, in good shape moving forward as we anticipate operating a 39 bed facility. Any questions?
I think one important thing to know about this book, I came in 2016. Since then, all the staff have started, so we are gone except for the book cuts. States. Yeah, sir, is the assistant director. So
You're speaking very quiet.
still, all right.
Come
I'll
on,
get louder for the
you
next
already
part.
had this
I'll get louder
talk.
for the next part.
No, I'm just, is there any other questions at all? Hearing none. Item number 9, facility operation and agency report. Berkshire.
Just some updates on how things are going. School, despite South Carolina going to be done here in June, we have one young man who is getting very close to being graduating. So we are hopeful, in the next 2 months, 2 to 3 months, we will have another graduation in the facility. He's doing a good job. We're very excited about that. Our staffing has greatly improved. We've brought on over 9 staff in the past 4 weeks. So we're very excited to be moving forward with our staffing. It's much better levels. We had a staff meeting the other day and I couldn't even find a parking spot.
Nice.
First time that's happened in that facility. So it's very exciting to have that. So staffing is going very well. We have received some VR headsets from OCFS for vocational training. They had sent in a different iteration of them before. We tried them and hadn't worked well because of some of the youth in our facility were just very disruptive and it was very difficult. But we're going, now that we have some of those youth out of the facility and we have a much common group, we're going to try to launch that again in the next couple of months, teaching some vocational training to some of our older youth. So we're excited to try to move that forward. And also, as Mark mentioned, we have a maintenance person who's able to work through a lot of the issues in the facility and catch them before they become a bigger issue. So we're very excited to have a new maintenance person in the facility.
Super.
Just a question, like in terms of your recruiting and then bringing folks on the floor to start working, what's the attrition rate percentage?
So I don't have, I will get you that data. I can get the data.
I mean,
for
just
you.
like ballpark,
But it
30%,
has,
20%?
it has gone from about a 60% down to about a 17-18%. Yeah, so we're doing much better with our attrition rate. And I think the training goes a long way to that, but also having a solid leadership structure in the facility so people feel safer. But yes, it's much improving. And we are continuing to recruit. You may, if you watch Spectrum News or Channel 10, you will see our commercials with, we have some of our facility staff. We put them together in a commercial and they're doing a great job. So that seems to be bringing a lot of people. We, in fact, a gentleman in the community who saw our commercial, he's an older gentleman, and he said he was so impressed by the commercial that he's bequeathing us some money from his estate.
Oh, wow.
Which is very exciting to have just because of our commercial and he saw commitment in our staff's eyes. So very exciting.
Very good, very good. Any questions?
And where do we get our share?
Yeah.
We're gonna cut it out of the county right there.
Yeah, you got a pony. Okay, item 10. Heightened monitoring progress report.
So as we've said continually, and you'll see in the minutes, I don't know, we have no notice that you're being removed from heightened monitoring. However, we are on regular visits from OCFS, just like everyone else, monthly visits. Everybody gets monthly visits, and that's where we're at. We were at weekly visits a year and a half ago. Now we're at monthly visits like everyone else. Interestingly, we just have a new liaison from OCFS, our longtime liaison. He's been with us for 8 years. Dave Bissell retired 2 weeks ago. And so we have a new liaison. Her name is Jennifer Mims. On the positive side, she comes from Brookwood. She worked in Brookwood for many years, so she actually understands security detention and what it should be. So that's going to be very positive for us. So we're very excited to start working with Jennifer. But as far as the issues that have came up with the heightened monitoring, we have our new maintenance staff. We have, while we're getting our janitor in place, we have janitronics coming in to clean the facility. We're doing everything we need to do with regards to that. And, we had a painter come in just to touch up some painting. We know we're gonna get everything painted in the bill, but we needed to touch up some things. So we've been doing all those things, and OCMS has been very pleased. That's why they moved this to monthly visits.
Very good. Any questions? Hearing none. Item 11, RTA capital project update, MO 2405.
Sure, we're progressing, as on schedule as possible. And, I think ahead of schedule as compared to other capital projects across the state for similar facilities. In the past month, we've had the couple months, the, temporary parking area opened. As Luke alluded to, parking on site is extremely limited between contractors and the staff. Interior work on the visitation, addition is progressing, as is interior work and exterior work on the new dorm D. We're preparing that for turnover in the springtime, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan. To date, roughly $7.5 million have been dispersed to the prime contractors for the project. And that represents 41% of the total project budget. So we're progressing along, money's moving to the contractors. The flow from Albany County to pay the vendors and from the dormitory authority to pay the vendors has been, I think, without any issue. We have been serving as the pay agent for the debt service for the past year. There are 2 debt service payments that are due annually. Is it 2 or is it 4, Amy?
2.
2. And so we've processed those first 2 debt service payments, and provided the county's cost share back to Albany County to make sure that the cost share for the local costs are getting to where they need to go. Any questions?
Hearing no questions. Facility use, item 12, Mark.
Sure. I included, which I guess are not in the packet,
I didn't see anything
but
for,
I will put them on the screen.
when I printed it, I didn't see anything for, so I didn't think there was one.
No, I just forgot to attach it. But here it is. Let me share the screen for those that are online. So this is the total use in the facility for the year. You can see the lion's share of bed days go to Albany County. This year, Rensselaer beat out Schenectady County for use in the facility, which is, I haven't seen that before.
What's going on over there?
Mike's very quiet over there.
And I think in what we can expect to see in the future, the majority of the bed days used in the facility are SSD male bed days. And I think that will be a trend moving forward. And little Saratoga, hardly any bed days compared to the other counties. And we're still tracking, I would say, about 15% or so of bed days to the out of county youth. And let me see, I did another chart. Not the internet. And this is just another way to break it down. So obviously the lion's share of bed days for Albany County, 22% for Rensselaer, 19% for Schenectady, and 1% for Saratoga.
You stated that 15% is from out of county,
Well, the actual statistic is 12%.
the action.
So, but that's, I think pretty consistent. Once we go to 39 beds, these numbers may change, but I think the ratios will probably be similar to what they are. Because the demand is out there.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Probably increase.
Yeah, that's what they say. If you build it, they will come.
Good point. Is there any questions? Hearing none. Is there any other business that we have to entertained?
No, I don't think so. You know, I hope to circulate services agreement from BOCES before our next meeting in April. I think that's the only major milestone thing that will, you know, require significant board action at the April meeting. The other thing which Luke reminded me about today is that we have to purchase the new keyway system for the facility. So CDYCI will hold, I guess, the license for the keyway, facility for the keyway. That's I'm not sure if it's the machine or if it's software. I don't know what it
There's all
is.
sorts of stuff that goes to making the keys and it's gotta be very technical on who has it. So CDYCI will own the key without purchase.
Mhm.
You want it. We'll order it. You'll be alone.
That's it. That's all I have.
That's all you have? Is there any other questions? Okay, I guess that does it then. Our next meeting date and time is at 9 AM, April 17th, 2024. Any other questions?
Motion to adjourn.
Hearing none, do I have a second? Laura, thank you. Yays, adjourn?
Aye.
There we go.
Thank you for the information.
Thank you.